When UNIFIL, or the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, plays its designated peacekeeping role in conflicts between Israel and Palestine, its primary objective is to monitor and maintain a buffer zone to prevent hostilities. However, when its watchtowers or outposts come under attack, as in the case of the Israeli Defense Forces, it raises a critical question. Why would the IDF, a state military force, view UN peacekeepers as obstacles to their operations? At the core of this issue is the complex tension between state military goals and the impartial, often restrictive nature of UN peacekeeping missions. The IDF, like other military forces engaged in active conflict, operates with specific strategic and tactical imperatives. These objectives may involve intelligence gathering, military strikes, or territorial control that UN peacekeepers, by virtue of their neutrality and mandate, may inadvertently obstruct. In these cases, the IDF may perceive UNIFIL watchtowers or posts as impediments to their ability to conduct operations without scrutiny, rather than neutral observers ensuring peace and stability. The broader implications of such incidents are troubling. When a well-established military like the IDF, supported by state resources and legitimacy, disregards or even attacks UN positions, it sets an ongoing dangerous precedent. It signals to other armed groups, militias and non-state actors around the world that peacekeeping forces can be undermined if they stand in the way of military objectives. This behavior erodes the foundational principle that peacekeepers are untouchable, neutral actors whose primary function is to protect and stabilize conflict zones. This trend becomes particularly dangerous when considering that insurgent groups, militias, or terrorist organizations, often less constrained by international law, may view this as an opportunity to exploit UN peacekeepers as military targets. If peacekeeping forces are seen as obstacles to insurgent goals, they might increasingly become strategic targets in conflicts, undermining their role as neutral actors and turning UN missions into battlegrounds. This raises urgent questions about the future of peacekeeping operations. If peacekeepers are perceived less as impartial forces and more as roadblocks to military or insurgent objectives, their ability to monitor ceasefires, protect civilians, and maintain stability could be seriously compromised. The UN may need to reassess the operational mandates and protective mechanisms it provides to its peacekeeping missions. Without such reconsideration, peacekeeping forces could become caught in the escalating militarization of conflict zones, with severe consequences for global peace and security. Ultimately, how future conflicts treat UN peacekeepers will depend on how the international community responds to incidents like IDF attacks. If such actions are met with decisive diplomatic repercussions, they could reaffirm the neutrality of peacekeepers and their protected status. However, if these actions are ignored or normalized, it risks sending a message that peacekeepers are expendable, eroding their authority and safety. At a broader level, it is time for the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council to re-evaluate their roles as stewards of international peace and security. Just as individuals differentiate between public and private conduct, these global powers must clearly distinguish between their public responsibility to uphold international peace and their private national interests. If they fail to do so, and instead revert to a Wild West mentality of unchecked power, the very purpose of the United Nations and its peacekeeping role will lose its legitimacy and existential value in the international order.